Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Stewart. I am the lead financial coach and founder of Do Better Financial, and welcome to Me Economy. Thank you for joining us tonight, Kendrick. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us tonight. As you all know, today is 9/11, and it is a day that most of us will never forget. I know I won't forget where I was on that day. I was actually in middle school. Yes, I know I don't look that young, but I was in middle school 16 years ago. And I was in IPC class, which is Integrated Physics and Chemistry. Thanks for joining us today, Erica. And there was a teacher. He was another IPC teacher. He ran in our class. His name was Mickey Music, and he screamed, "A plane just crashed into the World Trade Center." And as a 15-year-old, I didn't actually know what the World Trade Center was. Hey, Sam, thanks for joining us today. And, you know, they turn on the TV and we start watching it. And, yeah, they don't do IPC anymore, Chris. We start watching it and class bell rings and we all are like, what do we do? So we go to our next class where our Spanish teacher was supposed to be, whose name I can't remember right now. And she wasn't there. She didn't show up for about 30 minutes into the period. They were only like 45, 50 minutes. And we found out that her son lived in New York and actually worked in the Twin Towers. And she was able to get in touch with him because he hadn't gone to work that day. And, you know, that evening they canceled all the band rehearsals and all the stuff like that. And, you know, I go home and I'm like, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going on. Why are people crashing planes into things? You know, they crash planes into the Pentagon, and parents are coming and picking up their kids. And I didn't have a cell phone at the time because that wasn't that popular. And so I couldn't contact my mom. Hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us today. And so I just, you know, rode the bus home. And I get home and we watch it on TV, and we watch it over and over and over. And at the end of the day, you know, we were all terrified. The carnage that was left behind by that day is still evident. You may have seen the picture that I shared earlier with the memorial that they've left behind, which is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. Hi, Latanya, thank you for joining us today. But it's breathtakingly beautiful and solemn, just to think how many people, innocent people, and first responders lost their lives that day, and subsequently from all of the different things that were involved in the process of recovering people from those wreckages. So if you were not alive back then, or you were too young to remember, try and, you know, learn some of the history of it. It can be pretty, the word they use now is triggering, but it happened. And so the things that ensued obviously were not all great. Patriotism did what it did. Some of it was wonderful, some of it was not so great. But thankfully, today we have not seen anything quite of that magnitude man-made since. We're dealing with a different tragedy, or series of tragedies right now. Hi, John. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Ariel. Thanks for joining us. In the wake of these string of hurricanes, not just in the United States and the Caribbean, but there have been monsoons all over the world. I believe it's Nigeria or Kenya one that's underwater. I think it's Mumbai. There's fires all over the place. If you are a person of faith, I implore you to pray. If you are a person who has anything to give, whether it's to the survivors of Hurricane Harvey, Irma, Katia, or Jose. Yes, there were 4. And I think there's another one that's on the way, and I can't remember its name. But if you have anything to share, please do so. Choose a charity that is known for doing the right thing with their money. I'll let you figure out what that means. Preferably local ones that are known to help the people in whatever area it is. Just to mention a few, obviously Texas and Southwest Louisiana were impacted by Harvey. Florida, Puerto Rico, Antigua, and Barbuda. Barbuda, if you've never heard of it, was actually basically wiped out by Hurricane Irma. And then they had Jose come in, so they actually boated everybody off of Barbuda who was left to the island of Antigua, which really isn't that far, but that was all they could do for them. Haiti got hit again, not as bad as they have in the past. The Dominican Republic and lots of other smaller Caribbean islands. Please don't be mad at me if I didn't mention your Caribbean island. You can feel free to put it in the comments. I mentioned as many as I could research quickly. So if you have any way to help, if you wanted to help for Harvey or you wanted to help for any of these other things, please know that there will be heap loads of help needed over the next few months, and that's just for the hurricanes, not to mention the fires that are going on the West Coast and up north. So yeah, pray and help any way you possibly can. So we're going to try and get back to a little bit of what we normally do on Meconomy Mondays and Weeconomy Wednesdays. Today's video is also about some current events. We're going to be talking about identity theft and identity theft protection. So unless you haven't been on Facebook very much, you will have heard about the Equifax cybersecurity breach. So let's talk a little bit about what Equifax is. Equifax is the oldest of the three largest credit reporting agencies used here in the United States. The other two are TransUnion and Experian. So you got Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Equifax is the oldest. The information that's used to generate credit scores, and if you're not familiar with credit scores or FICO scores, I did a video on that a couple of weeks back. It might actually be more than a couple of weeks, might be a couple of months by now. But anyway, it's the score that they use to decide your credit worthiness. Things of like if you want to buy a car, buy a house, sometimes if you want to even get a cell phone, they're checking your credit. Okay, so that database, the database for Equifax that lists all of the debts that you currently have. So let's say you have a student loan, you have a credit card, and your house. It's going to list the current debts. It's going to list the ones you've paid off. It's going to list your delinquencies. Depending on the report, they're not all the same. That's important to know. But depending on the report, it might list your prior employers, it might list addresses, things of that nature. So the reason that this security breach is such a big deal is because, and it actually occurred back in May or June. Hi, Sister Danny, thanks for joining us today. It actually occurred back in May or June, and they're just now telling us about it. And you can go on their website, and they can give you their version of an explanation of why. But basically what happened is in June, a hacker gained information to about 143 million U.S. and some UK and Canadian customers' information via the Equifax website. They basically had some sort of vulnerability, and a hacker was able to in there and get 143 million people's information. What kind of information did they get? Glad you asked. I'm going to read this list because it's not short. Full names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, some driver's license numbers. So that's for the 143 million. There were just over 200,000 customers whose credit card numbers were possibly accessed, and about a little less than 200,000. Yeah, it's a lot of people because it's a credit reporting agency. If you have any sort of credit, you're probably in Equifax's system. And then about a little less than 200,000 people had personal dispute documents that had personal information, and those were compromised, potentially compromised as well. Bad thing is they can't tell you exactly what they took. They just know the area that they were in, if that makes sense. So here's some clarifications on the situation. If you've been seeing some posts on Facebook, like I know I was trying. Hi, Margarita. Thanks for joining us today. I was trying to figure out exactly what the truth is about what's going on. So this one is really important. The stolen information hasn't been used yet as of as last Equifax checked. So while your ID is vulnerable, your identity is vulnerable, it has not yet technically been stolen, okay? This is really important. You don't yet have a way to file an identity theft claim, which is good for you. I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. But first of all, that's the first thing. Your identity is vulnerable, but it hasn't technically been stolen if they haven't used your information, okay? Next thing. So Equifax is offering a 1-year complimentary credit monitoring service through something called Trusted ID Premier. I'm sorry I'm reading all of this, but I want to make sure I say the names right. Trusted ID Premier. What you should know about this company is it's actually a subsidiary of Equifax, meaning it's the same company that lost your data in the first place. But I mean, they already got it, so it's up to you. Originally, and this is some things you may have heard on the internet. Originally, when you were signing up for their identity, their free credit monitoring service for the year, they were asking for credit card information. They got slammed on that because people were like, they're trying to basically get rich off the fact that they had a security hack. So they've removed that requirement now. So if you go to that website and you try to sign up for their identity theft protection for the free identity theft the free credit monitoring protection for the year, they will no longer ask for your credit card. So that's not an issue anymore. Second thing was some stuff about binding arbitration. Don't worry about the big fat lawyer words. If you got some lawyer friends, ask them exactly what it is. But basically, the thought was that this clause that was, if you signed up for their credit monitoring, there was a clause originally in there, hi Kathy, thanks for joining us today, that said if you sign up for our credit monitoring, you can't join a class action lawsuit, which is usually the way people are able to get the most money from things like this in the event that a class action lawsuit is filed. That does not actually apply to this situation. Equifax has clarified that situation, and they say it doesn't actually apply to the cyber breach. Now, for whatever reason, that may have applied to some other form of credit protection that they were offering or monitoring. I'm not sure what it applied to originally, but that verbiage has been removed from the sign-up sheet, so to speak. All right, so here's what you need to do. You need to go to, listen closely, and I'm going to put this in the comments, EquifaxSecurity2017.com. You're going to click Potential Impact. It's going to ask you for your last name and the last 6 of your social. Now, again, they already have your information. It's already been breached. They also have said that they've plugged the hole. So if you're nervous about this, just assume your information's be taken and skip to the next thing to do. If you want to see what they say, you can type yours in. I did. This is what it says. I'll read it to you. Thank you. Based on the information provided, we believe that your personal information may have been impacted by this incident. Click the button below to continue your enrollment in Trusted ID Premier. All right, so Trusted ID Premier, like I said, is the credit monitoring service that Equifax is offering for free for a year. You do not have to sign up. It's not going to automatically enroll you next year, but that's their service. I did not sign up for this for 2 reasons. Number 1, y'all already screwed up. Number 2, I actually already have ID theft protection. And that's the third thing that you're going to want to do. The second thing you're going to want to do, you're going to want to look into identity theft protection. Now, we're going to go back a little bit. Remember, I told you that this currently isn't identity theft for you, and that's a really good thing. Here's why. Most companies will not cover prior identity theft issues. So the fact that this isn't technically identity theft yet is the best thing in the world for you. This is the time to shop. Okay, so here's what you're looking for when you go looking for ID theft protection. You don't just want credit monitoring. That basically, what credit monitoring is they're going to watch, and if weird things start popping up in your credit, they're going to send you an alert, and then you can go figure it out and sort it out yourself. That's not what you want. That's basic. Now, Trusted Premier does offer more than that. They actually offer a couple of these things I'm going to cover, but again, it's an Equifax subsidiary. I'm not fooling with that, but that's just me. I mean, it's free. So if you don't have any money, free is better than nothing, but I'm not doing it. So first thing you want to look for is stolen funds protection. So this covers you if somebody has either set up an ETF from your account, which is an EFT, electronic funds transfer, which is like somebody just went and transferred money out of your account. It also covers swiping and purchases in places that, are not where you live or that you didn't authorize. You want to look for reimbursement protection. This is going to cover your lawyer fees and things like that. Some of them will actually cover time off of time you have to leave work to go to court and stuff like that. But you have to read the fine print. Some of them will only cover it for a certain period of time. Hi, Alicia. Thanks for joining us today. Some of them will cover it only up to a certain amount of income. So if you have a pretty substantial income, it may not be enough for you. It may take too long to get there. I'm not sure on the specifics. Some of these companies are not very clear on exactly what they cover on their website. They want you to sign up, and then you have to read the legalese. I'll get to that in a minute. All right. Last thing, and this is the best part. This is what you really want to look for, and this is something that Trusted ID Premier does not offer, and it's restoration services, where someone will be assigned to handle this for you. They're literally, when they find out you've been breached, you're going to get on the phone. They're going to assign you a human. They're going to assign you Jill or Jack, right? Jack and Jill, of course. They're going to assign you a J and J, and they're going to be you and take care of all this. They're gonna deal with anything that you personally don't have to deal with. They're gonna be on the phone. They're gonna keep monitoring it for any new transactions. They're gonna update things and then send them to you to file them with their police, because I don't think they can file police reports on your behalf, but if they can, I guarantee you they should. This is what you want to look for. Some people call it Cadillac. It can be Cadillac depending on the company that you go with. The one that I personally use, I'm not going to tell you to buy this. This is just what I personally use because they offer everything I listed and some, and they're cost effective. So Xander Insurance or Xander.com. If you try to call them right now, they're experiencing a lot of high call volume because one of their offices was in Miami, so it's been shut down, and obviously because of this Equifax thing. So they got a really high call volume, but you can still sign up on the website. Anyway, it's Xander Insurance. Their family plan, which would cover you, a spouse, and all of your kids, is like $13 a month or $145 for the year. It's cheap. For me by myself, it's $75 for the year. Or I think it's like $6.95 a month, but I signed up when I got my bonus at one point, so I just paid it all at once. They're awesome. They do all the things I just described and some. They are not the only company that does it. I've seen a couple others. If you have already been a victim of identity theft, there are some companies that will cover prior issues. They're far and few between. You're going to have to do some hunting. And if you need some help hunting, let me know. I've seen a couple, but I haven't dug into the fine-tooth comb of the fine print, so to speak, as to exactly what they cover and how much. A lot of people, I'm not going to call any out, but some of them nickel and dime you, where it's like, oh yeah, it's only $9, but $9 literally just means they monitor things. And if you pay like $25, then they'll do this, that, and the other. And if you pay $40, then you get all the stuff that I just listed. But at least they list that on a website. Some of them don't list that for you to decide. Most of them also don't include a family plan that does not count per head. So that's one thing I really like about Xander. It's not per head. Is it you and a spouse, or is it you and your kids? That's all they really ask. And then you list them, and then you pay that flat fee. So here's some extra things that you can do to try to protect your identity, or at least make it less vulnerable. You can use opt-out. So there's a website that I'll put up. I think it's called opt-out marketing, opt-out something. I'll put it in the comments. Basically, you're going to opt out of extra marketing. So they're not going to be sending you a whole bunch of credit card offers in the mail that people can jack. They're not going to be, emailing you constantly, things like that. So opt-out's great, and it also stops telemarketers from calling you. But for a while, there's a way to do it permanently. I think the one on the website is only covers you like 5 years. If you want to do it permanently, you have to do it in writing, but it might be worth it. I mean, it's not that difficult. You just got to do it. But I know how I am and how most people are. We want to do everything on the computer, and that can't be done on the computer. Second thing you can do is freeze credit reports for yourself or children, which basically means that if somebody were to try to buy something or sign up for a credit card in your name or your kid's name, if the credit card company or the lender were to check the credit report, they would see that there's a freeze, and then they would not issue the credit. Now, in all honesty, credit card companies especially don't always do this. But you can freeze it anyway, and you would actually have to freeze all 3 reports. So remember I said there's 3. You'd have to freeze Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And if you needed to buy something, so say for instance, you want to buy a home, you don't want to you would freeze it, and then you'd have to unfreeze it and refreeze it. I can't remember. I don't believe it costs money, but it's a hassle. So for your kids, especially if they're small, freeze it, and you won't have to unfreeze it for 10 or 15 years. They may call you one day and be like, Mama, they say I can't get a car loan. And you'd be like, oh, my bad. Just, sit down for a week, and I'll call you back when I'm finished or tell them what to do. Next thing is to shred mail. So most people when they think of like their identity being stolen, they think of cybersecurity threats. So it being stolen from Target or stolen from Yahoo or stolen from Equifax. In reality, about half of identity theft occurs in real life, so to speak. So it's either people stealing mail, like I said, stealing credit card offers, people that so a lot of times parents will steal the identities of their children because their credit's bad and the kids don't have bad credit and they can, get whatever they need. guys, this is illegal and you're not being nice to your children. I'm just going to say that right now. So shred your mail and use that opt-out so that there's less mail in that mailbox. Last but not least is, of course, checks in the mailbox. A lot of the elderly get caught on this one. They'll be sending out their bills and they'll just put the check in the mailbox in front of the house. Which, if it's in front of your house, it's the kind where you walk up and you just open the little door, with the flag on it. Those aren't locked. So if you put something in there and someone sees you, or if you do it on a regular basis, they could easily just come and yank your check out of the box, copy it, put it back before the mailman comes. If they're nice, they'll put it back. If they're not, they'll just jack it and start kiting checks. Rather, they'll steal your identity and start writing checks in your name. So don't put your checks in the mailbox. If you're going to send off checks, either hand them directly to the mailman or put them in a locked box or take them to the post office. Okay. And there was one more. I've just drawn a blank. I'm very sorry. However, those are the things that you can do right now. You need to check and see if you would like to check and see if you want to fool with Experian at all. Equifax at all. You can check and see if your information was affected. Look into getting some identity theft protection, and you want to look for stolen funds protection. The more the better. Reimbursement protection. Again, the more the better. And restoration services, where they assign somebody to clean up the mess for you. I personally use Xander. I love them. They're very nice people. They're very, forthcoming with their information, but there are others. Most companies will not cover pre-existing identity theft issues, but there are some that will. And if you need help, let me know. Be sure to opt out. Freeze credit reports, especially for kids, because they don't need anything. Credit. Shred that mail that comes in, and do not put checks in the mailbox. Okay? If anybody has any questions, or you're dealing with something like this, you're trying to rebuild from an identity theft situation, please email me at christian@dobetterfinancial.com. We can get you in and have a discussion on the best way for you to rebound from that. Or if you have any questions in general about the information that I've covered, you can either email me, as I said, or you can send me a message on Facebook on my personal DM or on Do Better Financial. Thank you so much for joining me today. And also, if you haven't yet, you can get your copy of 8 Ways to Improve Your Meconomy. It is now live on Amazon. I will be posting that link a little bit later tonight. You can go get your copy. It's only $7.99, and that's not going to last forever. So go ahead, hurry up and get your copy so you can start improving your meconomy, so you can start doing better instead of just knowing better. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I will catch you next week. Have a good one.